Welcome to the MotUS Edge, where we celebrate business, primarily youth sports facility management, leadership, and motivation. Co-hosted by Stacy Rowe, Cole Stott, Kevin Brubaker, and Casey Jones. We are here to fill your cup with knowledge, laughter, affirmations, and comfort knowing that you're not alone. You can and will succeed with the MotUS Edge.
Hello, and welcome to the MotUS Edge podcast. We are so excited that you decided to join us here today, and we can't wait to kick off our podcast today. We are going to start with some fabulous gym owner stories. So, boys, who's got a good story to share today?
Oh my goodness!
Who wants to start? I feel like I've got so many.
Go ahead, Cole. You start.
Tell us one.
Well, so one of the ones that came to mind when we were talking about, telling some good old gym stories is, back in the early days of Premier, we grew super, super fast, ended up with 21 locations. And my partner at the time, who's still my partner, Boog Potter, and I used to ride around in the Crimson Ride, which was this broken down 80s little, I think it was a Nissan pickup truck that, didn't run half the time. But we'd always try to haul these big trailers with it and just super, super unsafe. So we hauled a new resi pit to our gym in Asheville, North Carolina, with Ben Pope, who we partnered with there, was running that gym for us at the time. And then also Chad Wright, who's now with Cheer Athletics. So we went there, take the Crimson Ride. So from Knoxville to get to Asheville, you have to go up and over the mountain to get there. So we're pulling, this big resi pit with this little tiny Nissan broke down pickup truck that was a stick shift. Boog's on his laptop, on his phone. I'm in the thing. And I'm like, dude, do you want me to drive? He's like, no, I got it. So but just by the grace of God, we make it over the mountain, get to the gym. And when we're getting, coming down the other side of the mountain, it starts pouring down rain. And this is while the new building is still being built. And we're like, oh, man, shoot, what are we going to do? It's like, we don't want to leave it out in the rain. We got to get in the gym. And we were dressed not really appropriately for doing labor that day. We're kind of, we're dressed kind of business
casual.
Yeah, business casual. So we come down, get off, had on, kind of dress shoes. And we're like, all right, guys, get out. There's Chad, Ben. I think Kendrick was there at the time as well. It's like, we need help carrying this resi pit in. And again, this is a really, really one of the really big heavy ones. So we all pick it up. We start trying to get it in the side of the roof was at least on the building, just walking through straight mud. And at the same time, all of us kind of slip and fall. And poor Kendrick, who was trying to put his best foot forward, meeting the owners, bosses, whatever, got stuck underneath the resi pit. In the mud, in the rain. And we were all just like, what are we doing? But that was fun. A lot of my stories, I really feel like are from just kind of random, things that have happened in the gyms over the years and how much we really didn't know what we were doing. And just were trying to make it happen and trying to open these gyms all across the country. So that's the first one that came to mind.
I feel like there's so many.
Well, I have a rain.
Go ahead, Kevin.
Sorry, go ahead, Stacy.
I just was going to say, I feel like I think it's funny, just all the gym owners, I feel like we have so many just crazy random stories, just the behind the scenes things that we do that, even sometimes the parents definitely don't know. The coaches, I feel like even sometimes they don't always know. And it's just, I don't know, there's just so much more that goes into it. But anyway, go ahead, Kevin, share your story.
Well, mine was with rain as well. When we first opened the gym back in 1990, we had dug pits. We had a large T-shaped pit that was 4 uneven bars. And we had boys at the time, rings and high bar to dismount into, and you could tumble into free foam pit. And then we had a second pit that was you could vault into and had an in-ground trampoline and an in-ground resi to tumble into. So that vaulting pit was about 7 feet deep, I think, open foam. We had just filled it with brand new foam, and we got our first flooding of the spring of 91. And it was so much rain, and it was just flowing in through the back door, literally, of our gym. and into that pit. So we had 18 inches of water in the bottom of our vaulting pit, and we've been open for 8 months. And so didn't know what to do. So we went into the gym and started taking all the foam out of there. And then the last, literally 18 inches of foam were just literally slopping wet. Foam blocks that weighed 30 pounds a piece because they were full of water. So we literally wrung them all out, which was nasty. And then we set them up on a floor and we put a huge fan on them to dry. And then we came back the next day and our whole gym smelled like nasty, moldy, wet foam. And it was like that it's still like that. 35 years later, that's what our gym smells like. So it's like that nasty, wet foam smell never went away. And it was like, and we had no money to buy extra foam. So we went from a really fluffy pit of 7 feet or 7.5 feet of foam down to about 5.5 feet of foam. And it was just a disaster waiting to happen. And so girls didn't want to vault into that pit anymore. We had to always put mats in it until a couple years later we could afford more foam to add to it. But that nasty, wet foam smell literally never went away. And here we are 35 years later. I feel like that's what my gym still smells like. So
the whole time you were telling us.
I was just going to say, talking about gym smell, that just like, literally, I could smell it right there. I mean, it came into it hit me.
That's probably your beard, Casey. You need to trim that thing up.
It could be. There's a little breakfast left in there from yesterday, so I might smell that as well.
I thought No Shave November was over.
My wife just hadn't complained yet, so we're just going to
trying to catch up. I gave up for a minute, but now I'm committed. I challenged Casey to make it to January. So,
and I've stuck a couple people. I'm like, normally you shave by now. It's like Cole said, I got to make it to January.
I think I'm going to go from now to January.
Maybe I'll let mine grow too.
Yeah, do it.
During this time of year, over the holidays, when you may shut the gym down for a couple of days and you're not in there for a few days and you walk back in and you get to smell how it really smells. And it doesn't matter if you've got the nicest, cleanest gym in the world, just the bodies and the sweat and all the skin and kind of the nasty things. And you spend a week out of there. And then next thing you know, you come back in, you're like, wow, this smells terrible. So,
yeah, those foam pits, Kevin, that's the same story as, when I was young, obviously my mom owned a gymnastics gym and my dad would take my brother and I when we were, I remember being probably 7, 8 years old and to clean out the pit and just dreaded that. We had to do it like every 6 months. And then at the bottom of that thing, digging through and there'd always be water and you'd find the craziest things like a Big Mac laying at the bottom of the pit, digging through, or a shoe. It's like, well, how'd somebody get in here? And when they jumped in, they had on 2 shoes and they left with just one and just decided to leave it in there. But yeah, I still kind of have PTSD over cleaning out pits. That was rough, super itchy, and the smell.
I can say now, one of the things that COVID brought for us was we have a deodorizer sprayer thing that we use throughout our gym. That was big during COVID, and we still use it. Our gym actually does not smell as bad as it did in the early days. And so we actually use that thing. Kendall and Meg are pretty faithful about doing it a couple times a week. And so our gym does smell nicer, especially at least we have large preschool moms that come in the morning. And so it is not quite the funky gym smell as what it was years ago, but it's still a gym. I'm a realist at the same time.
Do you guys discriminate against the skinny preschool moms? Only large preschool moms allowed?
We love both. We love all.
Okay, good. I was just making sure.
What do you, Kevin? Do you happen to know the name?
Another
the
name?
stuff that they spray.
Yeah, I must be on a delay or something. But do you happen to know the name?
I don't. I couldn't tell you. I should find that out.
We use Audubon. Just kind of like it sounds, Audubon, and we do the same thing. And it came from COVID with these sprayers, like that you would spray weeds in your yard, and we fill it up with Audubon and whatever 50-50 water, and it smells really nice. And we do that a couple times a week and spray around the mats.
Is that French, like Audubon?
Yeah, Audubon. I think it is, and it's at the Home Depot.
It's the only French Casey knows, I can tell you that.
Well, it sounds like we're on a liquid theme. So the greatest liquid story. I mean, we've all had, I think, if you have been in the gym business long enough, you're going to deal with some flooding or flooded pits or overrunning toilets that run through the night or water fountains that go out during the night. It's just one of those things. But I remember one time, because this part of the business is near and dear to me, our vending machine business. That was literally how Kevin and I were sharing some stories. It's probably a different podcast, but the vending machine back in the day was vital to my lunch, because depending on how the vending machine did the night before was how good lunch was going to be. But anyway, we had a closet and we stored all of our products, like our Cokes and Diet Cokes and all of that. And at the time, most all of them were the 20-ounce plastic bottles. And you talk about the dirtiness of a gym. And like I said, we do our best to try to keep these places clean, but they're big warehouses. And especially when it gets cold in the winter, the critters want to come in the nice warm warehouse. So we shut down for a nice winter break, Christmas break, and we were going away. And when I came back in the gym, there was this terrible smell. It was horrible. And I'm looking around and I'm thinking exactly like, where's the pit flooded? What toilet overflowed? Because literally nobody had been in the gym for at least a solid week. And I can't find it. And I'm looking all over. And I mean, honestly, it smelled like death. It was just terrible. And then finally I opened the closet where the drinks were, and rats had gotten in there and chewed through the Coke bottles. And so it's literally like Coke had sprayed it made it up to the ceilings. And that room, unfortunately, was carpeted. So there was about an inch and a half or 2 inches of Coke, Dr. Pepper, Diet Coke, whatever, that had been sitting there for a week. The smell was terrible. And then, so we had to deal with that. And then, probably shouldn't tell this about our gym, but we set some traps, and man, these rats, they were not mice. These rats that we caught that did that damage were like huge rats. So it was a mess. And that was the one that, like Kevin, you guys were telling about rain and water. So that was a different kind of liquid that caused a big mess in the gym.
Yeah, well, you learn something every day. What I've learned so far is Charlotte All Stars stinks and Stingrays has rats. Good job, guys.
And Premier has ghetto vehicles.
Yeah, the Crimson Ride. I got another good Crimson Ride story.
Hold on. I got to tell you a rat one, though, one time. So literally I'm coaching. And this is not in our current gym, but I'm coaching. And you know how gyms have the iron? I call it the red iron. Some people paint theirs white, but the big iron bars that come up. I'm coaching all these kids, and I see on the iron bar behind a mouse climbing up, like as I'm coaching, climbing up the thing to run across the ceiling of the gym.
That's awesome.
Fantastic.
Oh, so funny. So my other Crimson Ride, it's a shorter one, but so again, I already described the Crimson Ride. So Boog and I again in this little 2-seater Nissan, pickup truck. I think it's like a 40-foot flatbed trailer. We go up to our gym in Evansville, Indiana, and we picked up a whole spring floor and then piled like all the carpet bonded rolls on top of it. And it was just Boog and I doing all this. We had, some help to load it up when we were up there. But at the end, we're just putting these rolls down, like tying them down. And I'm like, dude, this isn't going to work. He's like, what do you mean? This work, I've done it 100 times. Like, no, you haven't. It's like the only time you've done this. I've been with you. You haven't done it 100 times. Like, no, it's good. Trust me, it's good. So we started to drive back, come down, get through Lexington, coming down 75. And then, so we're kind of going downhill at this point. And so he's pushing it because, he was late to get back for some meeting or something. And we're flying. I was like, dude, you better slow down. He's like, man, it's good. I was like, all right. So then all of a sudden, the rolls just start tumbling off on 75. We were going probably 80 miles an hour, and we lost 6 of the rolls going down Interstate 75. Had to pull over. Thank God nobody died. Nobody got wrecked. Took us about another, I don't know, hour and a half to collect all the rolls back and get them back on the truck. So,
My God.
So the Crimson Ride, I need to find a picture of it and post it on our MotUS Facebook page.
Mine doesn't have anything to do with rain or smells or the Crimson Ride, but it's pretty crazy. It's a pretty crazy story. So I want to say it was like 2000. I don't know. I don't even know what year it was, but it was in the early 2000s. And we were taking the Clayton premiere to the Spirit of Hope, which is in Charlotte, North Carolina, in your neck of the woods, Kevin. And I think you have a new event in Charlotte, North Carolina, coming up soon, don't you? In a week or two, something like that.
Yes.
Yeah, super exciting. It's going to be the best event in Charlotte. So anyway, we were going to an event in Charlotte, North Carolina, and they had world's bids, and we were taking our whole program, and we enjoyed the event for the most part, but it was always hard because it was like right after the break, and it was hard to get everybody kind of back into the swing of things. So I think we had 12 teams going to this event, and we get to Charlotte, and we had to take two separate vehicles. We had the early van and the late van. And so the early van, I'm in the early van, and we get there and we're doing all the registration and check-in and everything. And the late van is coming up. We had a bunch of college coaches, cheering at NC State, and just people that had to have, had day jobs or whatever. And they were coming up later. Well, I knew it was going to be a long weekend, a lot of teams, big event, whatever. So I put myself to bed. I think at 9:30, 10 o'clock, I'm in bed, and I get a phone call on my cell phone at midnight. My second van with all of half of my coaching staff in it was arrested on the way to Charlotte. And the girl is on the phone sobbing. She's sobbing hysterically. We're in jail. And I'm like, wait, what is happening? What is happening? I get out of bed. I'm like, I don't understand. What is going on? Well, turns out that there was another green van of the same make and model that had robbed a convenience store or something, arm robbed a convenience store. And the two passengers in the front seat of my coach's van allegedly looked like the, people that robbed the convenience store. So they pulled them over. Not only did they pull them over, they had helicopters, numerous police cars, guns trained at them. They took them all out of the car, handcuffed them, separated them. It was this whole big ordeal. Well, I was about ready to just go on the warpath on the whole town of Charlotte. If you could imagine, you arrested my innocent coaches. Yeah. They were hysterical. That's okay. Awesome. So fine. We get them all collected out of jail, bring them back to, the event. Okay, great. We're going to, as if that's not enough of the story. So the competition starts the next day. Everybody's good. We have a great Saturday, man. We're awesome. We kicked off the weekend with a flare, and we were doing great. Every single team, all 12 teams in first place, legit. I think we had one team in second. Everybody else was in first. And we're this is amazing. It's going to be an amazing weekend. Sunday rolls around. Every team drops to last place except for one. We had a torn bicep. A girl got her teeth knocked out. It was horrific. So we're on the way home. And we get a flat tire in the middle on the highway of 40, and we pull over to the side of the road. It might have even been, was it 85, Kevin, that connects Charlotte to Raleigh? So it might have been 85. I think it might have been 85 actually. So we pull over on the side of the highway. We can't find the spare. And then I'm trying to think, it took an hour. We got roadside assistance on the phone. We finally find the spare. We pull over, and I'm like, forget it. At this point, we're only 2 hours away from home, but I'm like, I've had it. I've had it with this weekend. Enough. We're going to get a hotel room. I can't, we're not driving. It's at 4:00 in the morning at this point now. And I'm like, and we are not getting a hotel with doors that open to the outside. So the luck that we're having right now, this is not happening. So we get back to the gym the next morning. Finally, we had survived. We get back to the gym the next morning, and we walk into the gym, and the heat isn't working. I'm like, oh, what the heck? I don't understand. So we walk around to the back of the building where our two gigantic 10-ton air conditioning units are, and they look like they have been blown apart. All four sides are off. And I go and I get somebody else, I don't remember, but I get another staff member, my office manager, and I'm like, y'all, it looks like they blew up. So we go out there. While we were gone over the weekend and everything else was happening, somebody was stealing the copper pipes out of all of our air conditioning units. So $50,000 later, Yep. So that was our weekend, but we did get our first Dance Worlds bid that year. And so we were like, well,
that's the important part.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, that's what it was like. We got our bid. It's like, all right.
Yep.
We also cost us about $75,000 total for the weekend.
And
heating and air and plumbing it's part of our budget now because it's constant.
It's
got a funny plumbing story. Do we have time for one more story?
Sure, go ahead. Share your funny plumbing story.
So my funny plumbing story. Plumbing is, we're blessed to have a lot of kids at Stingrays, which is awesome. But with a lot of kids comes a lot of toilet flushing. And I have learned so much about plumbing and pumps that pump the sewage out to the street and all of these things. So literally I can kind of fix these pumps myself, but it's a bad job. And then the ones in Marietta we have upgraded, and they're literally the pumps that they use at the Atlanta airport. That's how big they are. They've got to be craned out of the ground. That's the pumps that we use to pump the stuff to the street, to the sewage. And every now and then those will get clogged up or messed up, and it's a big deal. And we've got to get this company, and they actually come out of Tennessee. The only people that can work on them come out of Tennessee to work on them. So this guy comes down, and he's super nice. And he's an awesome plumber, and he's a great guy, and we've become friends. But he's just a good old country boy, which I love because it's kind of how I grew up. But anyway, I'm in the gym, and he calls me out there, and I walk out there, and he's like, "Man, I see your problem this time." He's like, and he's sitting there holding something on a stick, and I can't really tell what it is. And he's like, "One of you little cheerleaders in there done flushed her thong britches down the commode there, and it hung up in your pump." And he's literally like has them on a stick there, and I'm just dying laughing. And but yeah, someone flushed their underwear down. Since then, we have found brushes and tennis balls. Somebody tried to flush an entire sweatshirt down the toilet one time. So. Yeah, but
good
that
times,
was great.
Good times.
This big, awesome, burly plumber.
We should do a whole podcast on gym restroom facilities.
I think that's a good idea. I think that's a really good idea. I know that some of our listeners out there have some amazing gym owner horror stories. So if you want to share those with us, we'd be happy to read them. We could make it a segment of the show. That'd be awesome. Yeah. You can send your gym owner horror stories to @joinMotUS in a private message on our Instagram or Facebook, and we would love to share those stories because I know we all have them.
Yeah, and if you guys are interested in MotUS and found out about us on this podcast, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about that. MotUS is a community of gym owners working together to help each other grow. As members of MotUS, you can get access to our Gym Owners Vault, which includes templates for every aspect of your business. We continue to add new resources constantly. In addition, you are added to our private VIP owners Facebook group, as well as the opportunity to join monthly webinars geared towards gym owners. You also receive amazing discounts from our affiliate members, the Cheer Expo, Choice Events, All Out Brands, TSN, and Infinity, Vault Event Media as well, Cheer Sounds, Bookshop Fundraising, and much, much more. So join the movement today at www.joinmotus.com. That is www.joinmotus.com, and start off the new year with a great team to help grow your business, and join the movement today at joinmotus.com. So love to have you guys be a part of what we're doing. We're so excited. We've had a tremendous amount of growth this year, and we're just excited to be able to help gym owners, which in turn helps all of us and just helps the sport of cheerleading to grow. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up with an awesome dad joke. How do moths swim? Anybody? Any of you guys know? They use the butterfly stroke.
That is a dad joke.
I've got a ton of them.
I'm just excited that you could spell join MotUS correctly. So good job on your spelling, Casey.
Well, Stacy helped me. I had to read it. So, all right. So, Kevin, I think you are up. You
I
gonna
know
tell
it's
us
kind of
about,
I know it's kind
Cheer
of
Expo?
cliche. I know it's kind of cliche, but it is 2025, and it's always so good to I'm always looking forward, right? Like I'm always looking forward into the future, but it's always nice and good to take a moment and look back sometimes. So I think we should go around the horn real quick and do something that we're proud of from 2024. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
Let's do
that's
it.
good. I can start. I honestly, this is self-serving to all of us on this call, but I'm really, really professionally proud of the MotUS Business Conference that we did in Nashville. I mean, Stacy put a ton of work into it. I think we all did. We pulled out every friend card that we could, great speakers coming in. And, you know, having been to conferences for 25 plus years, and I think everyone who was there would agree with me, it was literally the best conference that I've ever been to for gym owners. And I say that, obviously, I'm biased towards MotUS, but I've been to all the other conferences. Nothing against anybody else, but it was great. It was really fantastic, to the point where when we were done, I remember Stacy and I were, talking at the end and picking everything up. I was like, gosh, how do we top this next year? But we will. We just haven't figured out how yet. But I'm really proud of the Gym Owners Conference we did in Nashville around the 1st of October. And then personally, my wife Christy and I have been married for 25 years. And we're finally empty nesters. And that's been a big adjustment where we started playing pickleball and riding bikes and doing all the things that, that we haven't had time to do for the last 20 years. So
love birds.
It's personally been, yes, such lovebirds. She would agree. I love you, honey.
Oh,
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Kevin.
I think, I love what we're doing. MotUS, Cheer Expo, all the things. And, I'm really focused on our competitions right now. And we did 3 events last year that were great. We're doing 8 events this year that are greater. And just our growth in Nashville alone is exciting. So I love that business-wise. Personally, same. Jen and I are both empty nesters for the first time. So Ava is a freshman in college at South Carolina. Sky is a junior in college in New York City. And so this fall, our house is empty. It's us and Sadie. She was on my lap a minute ago. So it's been amazing. And we're busier than ever, both with, we own the gym together. So we do a lot of stuff at Charlotte All-Stars. And I'm pretty much fully engulfed in MotUS and the Cheer Expo. But thank goodness that I'm married to my best friend and that we're great being in the house together. And it's been pretty awesome. So we're actually going to New York to see Sky with Ava to visit here coming up soon, just to hang out in the city for a few days. But it's awesome working together and being empty nester. I miss my girls, but I'm happy because they're flourishing in school and they're not in jail. And they have morals and they're godly and they're pretty great. So I feel very blessed for my family. So
awesome. Casey, how about you?
Man, there's so much this year, just so much change within what we're doing and growth within MotUS and Cheer Expo and Cheer Fest and just a lot of exciting things. But I think
you won't be an empty nester for about 15 more years.
Well, I was getting to that. So I think the thing I'm most excited about is the sport as a whole. And if you've been around me or you've heard me at any of the conferences or things like that, one thing that I see is a big shift in everybody wanting to work together. It seemed like, this industry is still really pretty young. The sport, the all-star cheerleading sport, is really young. And I think when we first started out, the guy down the street was your bitter enemy. And it seemed like everybody was against each other. And I just feel like that there's been a big shift, and it doesn't matter. We'll see. We're coming into the competition season, so we battle it out on the weekends. But I feel like that people are really starting to come on board and work together and support one another because they understand that if the gym down the street grows, then I have an opportunity for my gym to grow. If this sport as a whole grows, then we all have the opportunity to grow. And that's a thing too. Like so many of us, I mean, Kevin and I are always picking on each other. And for the record, he is way older than all of us here, but we're always picking on each other about getting older. But that is a thing. A lot of people that help build all-star cheerleading are getting into the next phases of their lives. So, now you've got a different group and a group of younger people coming in, which is awesome and amazing. But, that's something that's really important to me, is that these young people have the opportunity to enjoy for years, for their entire lifetime, their working lifetime, just like we have. So it's important to me to make sure that that's around for them and that the sport continues to grow and flourish. And frankly, we've had some challenging times, since COVID, as we went into COVID and coming through that with different challenges. But I look at those challenges as nothing more than an opportunity to make the sport that we know and love even better. So those are the things that I'm most excited about. My wife and I celebrated 30 years of marriage on December 10th.
Way to go.
And we are not empty nesters, like Kevin said. So we still have an 11-year-old hanging around the house. And then
good job,
I've got 5 kids, but the youngest is 11. So 2 of them are outside of the house and they are doing awesome. But my oldest daughter, Emily, I get to work with her most every day, and that's been really good. I grew up in a family business and it was not good. Like nobody got along and everybody fought. So I learned from that, and I don't want that. So, but I'm excited to get to work with her daily. I'm excited to watch my kids grow up and fall into their own lives and their own things. So things are good in the Jones household. So
awesome.
That's
Casey,
awesome.
One of the things that you said really sticks out in my mind of that, which I haven't thought about this a ton, is that, when we were all coming up and All-Star was just developing and we were all trying to open our gyms and trying to make our way and figure out how everything works, we really, truly didn't have anything to look at or any, wisdom or any people who'd been there before or knew what they were, knew what they were doing.
No social media
to
be able to see what other people are doing.
Yeah, that's why we also made many mistakes. And I feel like you learn as much from your mistakes as you do from your successes. But, we didn't have that. So, and it's not just us or our group. It's just, I would encourage everyone to seek out people who have been there and done that and look for, wisdom. And that's something, that as we all continue to get a little bit older, that I have more respect for, is that, people who've been around for a while have learned a few things. So anyway, I think that's really cool.
Most of those things we've learned are what not to do. And
I
Cole
was just
says
gonna
this
say-
all the time.
I was just going to say, meaning we made a whole lot of mistakes. That's what you're saying, is we made a whole lot of mistakes. We had Matt's
Cole
bouncing
says
down the
this all
highway.
the time. He wishes he would have had a group like MotUS, back in the day. And I think we all do. And that's not because we're smarter or know anything more than anybody, but just sharing of information. The term I like to use is a co-op. We're just sharing ideas and sharing thoughts and information. Yeah. And the awesome thing is we're all getting to learn from one another. It's truly a community of like-minded individuals that want to better their programs.
I definitely wish I would have known Cole and Stacy when I started my gym.
Yeah, we could have made mistakes together.
I didn't say that. I'm just saying I definitely wish I would have known Cole and Stacy when I started.
He was very standoffish with us because we were always beating him, so he didn't like that. So,
okay. Well, on that note, gentlemen, I am. Cole took mine. I was really super proud of the MotUS Business Expo as well, but to not repeat the same celebration, I'm going to say that I'm really proud of Cheerfest and the amazing job that Callie and her team did putting on that camp. I just think it's an awesome experience for kids, and I'm super proud to be a part of it. So that's something professionally that I'm really proud of. And then personally, I would have to say that 2024 has been a pretty awesome year all around. I spent most of 2023 extremely unwell and driving everyone crazy with my unwellness, if you will. And last Thanksgiving, I was barely able to move and get off the couch. I was actually doing conference calls from my back on the couch and pretty miserable. And I finally was diagnosed in February with MS, got treatment. And this Thanksgiving, just a few short weeks ago, I went ziplining with my family. So that is my big personal celebration for 2024. So yeah. And I know
Did
that
you watch
you guys
the movie
out there,
I told you?
No, we didn't.
Did you watch the movie about going to Branson?
No, because we were in Cousin Eddie's RV and the TV wouldn't work. There was nothing. There was nothing but rattling and loud noises the entire time to Branson.
And flat tires.
And flat
tires.
That's all part of the experience. So.
Yeah, it was. It's great. We have many memories that we made. But anyway, we love to celebrate each other and celebrate you guys. So if you have celebrations that you want to share that you did, awesome things for your 2024, send those to us and we can share those on the podcast so we can celebrate you as gym owners. You can share those to @JoinMotUS Instagram or Facebook. Send us a private message and we will shout you out on the podcast. So earlier, Kevin, I feel like during your 2024, you were talking about the Cheer Expo and all the events. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the Cheer Expo?
Well, really proud of the Cheer Expo. We have 8 events this year, literally nationwide, from Southern California to Kansas City to Indianapolis, Columbus, Ohio, Nashville, Charlotte, Atlanta, and outside of Philadelphia and Delaware. And so events are growing. Our big event, our World Bid event, is in Nashville, Tennessee, March 8th and 9th. Not too late to register. We'd love to have teams come. But if you want to experience excellence at our events, we'd love to have you show up. And so our website is thecheerexpo.com. That's TheCheerExpo.com. So check out the Cheer Expo. We'd love to have you compete with us if you want to experience excellent at awesome competitions.
Awesome. All right, guys. So kind of to Casey's point, let's, before we wrap up, let's all share an inspirational or fabulous gym owner tip with our listeners. So what do we got? Who wants to go first?
I'll start. And we do this a lot internally, but I would really challenge people to focus on what moves the needle. I think a lot of times when things come up during the course of business or during the course of running a gym, you may end up spending a week, 2 weeks, a month on a project or something that you thought was a big problem that doesn't really change doesn't grow revenue or really increase your profits or give you better customer service or, make your product better. So I think it's that, for me, it's that something simple. Spend your time on what moves the needle and what will make the change. Because there's only 24 hours in a day, and no one's ever going to be able to change that. Maybe Elon Musk might change.
Not yet, anyway.
In a couple of years. Not yet, but you don't get time back. So spend your time wisely.
Kevin, let's just go around the horn.
Okay. I think for me, the communication piece is huge with our gym. We do weekly staff meetings, manager meetings, and core staff meetings, and talking about what we can do to make our programs better. I'm always amazed at things that people don't like to do, that we try not to have people do things that they don't enjoy, and we try to have staff do things that they do enjoy and that they're good at. And trying to put a round peg into a square hole doesn't always work. And it's the same thing with staff. And so our communication piece is huge with our parents and our families and within each other. What we do on the band, what we do with emails is, I think, personally exceptional. I appreciate what Kendall especially brings to the table at Charlotte All-Stars. And our calendar is a year to 18 months in advance because our communication is top notch. And it makes our gym better. It makes everybody happier. It makes everybody on the same page, right or wrong. You've been communicated what's expected and what's happening and what the events are within our facility. And it just makes everyone's life easier. So that's a huge one for us.
Awesome. Casey?
I think for me, just really, really honing in on your culture. And that's something that, I've realized is just a huge part of Stingrays. And early on in business, I didn't even know what that word meant. We didn't plan for it. And I think it's a little bit of God's grace and God's mercy that we just happened into a great culture. But I will tell you this, after being in business for over 20 years, that ebbs and flows. And just because you have a great culture this year doesn't mean that you're going to have a great culture next year, because you have a lot of different people that come in. You have different employees that come in. You have different customers that come in. And sometimes you can get off track and you've got to hit the reset button. But the one thing I've learned that culture starts from within. It starts with your staff and your coaches and the people that have a direct impact to these kids, because they are the one that are really driving the ship. So it's important to have happy coaches and have an environment that is fun, have an environment that's, conducive to good training and where people feel valued and heard. And that, like I said, that starts with your staff, and that's tough to do. That's a tough thing too. And it's not a set it and forget it. You've got to constantly work on it. So I think that you focus on those things, and then a lot of other things take care of themselves. So like Cole mentioned, sometimes we get on this task, and honestly, I see it. We're in a competitive sport. People want to win. All right. But you can't go straight to the win. There's all these other steps. Roger always says this: if we do this, this, and this, and this, then the wins will take care of themselves. So we're not planning the win. It's all the steps and all the processes to get there. And then that's a byproduct. The win is a byproduct. So whether it's a win on the mat, getting the trophy or getting the bid or whatever, or whether it's a win, in your checkbook of growing profits, all of those things don't happen instantly by focusing on that. They happen by the little steps along the way. And I think culture is a huge part of that.
I think
that was
for
awesome.
me,
I was, wait, Stacy, I think it was touch and go, Casey, on whether you stay on the podcast, but I think you got the vote today. That was pretty awesome.
He's in now.
Go ahead, Stacy, finish this up.
I think for me, I encourage everybody to start your new year by forming excellent habits. And I think that kind of ties everybody's tips together, whether that's doing things that move the needle or, whatever the case may be, but you have to form good habits to get where you want to go. So that could be getting up and reading, something about business every single morning, or going on a walk, or, whatever, making sure that you communicate weekly to your parents. And it could just be everybody's doing great this week, whatever it is, but make it a habit, because you can't succeed without making those habits and staying with them consistently. I think it's all so easy for us to start, especially at this time of year, right? At the new year. And it's like, oh, I'm going to turn over this new leaf, or, oh, I'm going to do this. And we all have the greatest, best intentions. Like, I want to lose 30 pounds, but if I don't do the work every single day and I don't make good habits to lose those 30 pounds, then it's never going to happen. And I can't just do it for a week and then expect that the 30 pounds are going to fall off. So I think you'll find that the most successful people in life are the ones that form excellent habits. So that is my advice for you for your 2025 new year.
Awesome.
That brings a really good inspirational quote by Madam C.J. Walker. Don't sit down and wait for opportunities to come. Get up and make them. Which I believe in that wholeheartedly. Quick little story I've got to go along with that is, obviously COVID was a hard time for the country. It's a hard time for a lot of small business owners, a lot of time, hard time for families, et cetera, et cetera. And about 2 years, so 2022, so about 2 years past COVID, I was talking to a really good friend, and they're like, man, I just haven't got back on my feet, I just don't feel like anything's coming. And it's kind of some tough love. It's like, well, what are you doing? It's like, you can't just sit at home and expect that at some point someone's going to come knock on your door and say, hey, I've got this great opportunity for you. Or, hey, have you thought about, pursuing this career or taking this job? Get up, get out there, go do it. And that's one of the things, that's at my core is that, every successful person went through a time in their business journey that was tough. That was hard. But that's what separates the successful people from the non-successful people. I also think you got to get lucky a little bit along the way, and things got to line up for you and be at the right place at the right time. I do believe that is a part of it. But at the end of the day, if you want opportunities, get up and go make them.
I heard, you guys know the quote, things come to those who wait. Did you grow up hearing that as a kid? And so
Yes.
I heard a quote, an add-on when I was in college, and that I have literally built my business life around is things come to those who wait, but only the things left by those that hustle.
I love that.
Love it.
So I'm a hustler.
Love it.
So, and I'm working with 3 hustlers, and I love it. It's pretty great.
Yeah.
I love 2 of the 3 specifically.
Don't talk about Cole like that.
Yeah.
I wait for no man. How about that?
We know.
There you go.
Thank goodness.
Ask
Praise the Lord.
Ask her husband.
Oh, too funny, too funny. Well, next week, gang, we will dive into communication, how to navigate the competition season with your parents, coaches, and owners. Be sure to follow the MotUS Edge podcast on YouTube, Instagram, and X at Join MotUS, and wherever you listen to your podcasts. Give us a follow. Thank you so much for listening. We are excited for you to have the MotUS Edge.
Thank you for listening to the MotUS Edge. We hope you had a blast. Join us next week for more on business, leadership, and motivation. Subscribe and follow the show where you get your podcasts. Subscribe to our newsletter at joinmotus.com. The MotUS Edge podcast is produced by ClantonCreative.com.